I'll try to speak a bit.
Okay, can you hear? Anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yep, you can hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Yep, okay. Let's see.
Me? Okay. Right. Okay, fine. I'm going to try again. Okay, he's took the quality down. All these things are so technical, it's awful.
That's okay, yeah, no worries. It's all good.
Sorry. Oh,
we'd rather get it at the start than do everything and then find out afterwards that it wasn't working.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be much worse. So there we are. Okay. Right. Are we good? Is it on? They're trying to... Yes, all good. Rick says all good. Okay. Right. So we're just checking now that we're on so that we can see who's...
Okay. So...
yeah, that's us. Right, let's go. Okay. Take 3, Luke. Sorry, dear love you. Thank you for your patience. So
we'll
just go straight into it and just start off by asking you really, so what have you been doing in lockdown? What's the rhythm of your life been like in lockdown?
Yeah, so it has been very different to my usual, the usual way I spend my time. As you mentioned earlier, my life really is spent traveling quite a bit, 2 to 3 weekends every month. I'm somewhere, whether it be in Europe or America or Canada. And so obviously all travel, international travel and even local travel has been off the table. So, I have had to find ways to fill my time, although it hasn't been too difficult. I've had many conversations with pastors and leaders all over the world, chatting through church leadership. What does it look like? I've hopefully been able to encourage several people too in ministry. So that has been one of the things I've done. I've also partaken in several interviews similar to this, again, a number of different churches. And so that's been fun too. Some on Facebook, some on YouTube, some on Instagram. There's been a real mix. And but also I know we're going to chat about it maybe a bit later, but I've been working a lot of my time has been spent on a book that I've been writing for a couple of years, and so I've been able to really get on with that.
Yeah, that is good. I mean, we'll come back and talk about the book in a wee bit because we really want to hear about that. I actually saw you do an Insta Live with somebody about fitness and sport and keeping healthy while you were, a girl was interviewing you about that, about some sort of fitness thing. And I was like, wow, okay. So keeping fit during all of this. So you've been doing that, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, look, you guys know me well that I enjoy my fitness. I enjoy my physical exercise, and not having access to my gym has been a small challenge for me, if I'm being really honest. And so I have had to come up with creative ways in my garage to make sure I still get in my level of training. In fact, I'll tell you a little story. The night before lockdown, when they were talking at the government and on the TV that lockdown was going to happen, I knew I had no exercise equipment here, but I did have at my parents' house in Norwich. And so it was Sunday night, and I said to Lisa, my wife, I'm going to have to drive to my parents tonight and pick up all my old weights from many years ago and bring them back. So I did a 300-mile round trip late on Sunday night. Got there, loaded in my besides my weights bench and my weights and a few other accessories, and then I drove back to where I live here in East Sussex the same night, and managed to set my garage up. So it's not amazing, but I'm very grateful for what I have.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's so funny. It was like you had to just get that in there. So how are Lisa and Lila coping in all of this?
Yeah, I mean, look, like everyone else, we're all trying to do our best, and it's not easy on anyone. Everyone's connected to what's been happening in some way, and it's been similar for the girls. Lisa's work, things have been sort of shifting and moving about a little bit because of what she does, and then Lila, our 3-year-old daughter, she's normally in nursery several times a week, and so that's obviously not been happening now for a couple of months, and she's been at home. So although she's been enjoying a lot more playtime with mummy and daddy, I mean, I tell you, I have really played hard in these last couple of months. She's found it a little bit in the last week or two. She's found it. She's missing her friends, I suppose, and does want to get. So it's been a little difficult, but look, you've got to be grateful for what you do have in this season, and so although it's been a little times, it's nothing compared to what some people are facing. So we always try and look through that lens.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Keeping 3-year-olds 3-year-olds entertained would be a challenge. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. It's getting into a new rhythm of everything, isn't it? I think we didn't expect to be doing this, so it's like quite interesting.
So go ahead.
Yeah, that's such a good word, Helen. You use the word rhythm, and when this happened, the lockdown, when they talked about it at the end of March, Lisa and I was very intentional in sitting down, just us two, when Lila went to bed, and we had to work out a new rhythm, and it obviously has changed on some days or some weeks. But putting a rhythm in place, a bit of a structure for Lila, for me to get my stuff done, for Lisa to get her stuff, that rhythm has been really crucial in us navigating this season of isolation. It's been really important. I mean, you've probably found it too with church. I presume you've had to work on a new rhythm.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a great word, rhythm, because that is exactly what it is, really, isn't it? Yeah.
I was trying to find what works for us, for the people, and trying to get the balance right, putting out stuff and not putting too much stuff out, and these cared for, and just, so, I mean, it's had its challenge, especially when you sort of get thrown into it. Initially, the first few weeks is all very panicky, but as time goes on, as we chatted just before we came on air, I think it's been great just to see the creativity, the innovation, learning new things, not only just for church, just in as well, and I think it's been a great opportunity for that. Challenges, as I'm sure you probably find it. For anybody that doesn't know, we mentioned it just at our first start. So Luke is a good friend of the Grace Generation. Usually you will find him preaching in our church on the first Sunday in October every year for the last 4 years, and indeed he's booked in for this year as well, if that comes about. And but Luke has the heart of an evangelist, and you're a bit of a teacher as well, and speaking into leadership and different avenues of church life. But God's opened amazing doors for you. I know across Europe and into America, Canada as well, in terms of your preaching. And so for you, obviously, that's part of your world, part of your rhythm. Is the traveling quite extensively throughout the year, but now obviously for a few months. So personally and from a ministry aspect, what have you found to be one of the biggest frustrations of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like you just touched on, one of my big frustrations has been the calendar. You know, like I said, we taking aside the actual seriousness of what is happening. For me personally, for what I do, it has been frustrating when my work takes a lot of organization. I work with a number of different churches in a number of different countries, and the calendar is often done from a year to 6 months out, you know, but more like a year. So when that gets put in place and then all of a sudden, literally overnight, everything's postponed, that has been a challenge. But at the same time, I'm someone who I believe tries to remain as positive as possible. So although it's been a little frustrating, as I said a moment ago, I always try and look at the bigger picture and be grateful for what I do have in this season. But it has forced me to make sure that I'm still finding ways to be able to exercise my gifting, and whether that be through ministering online, through interviews like this, having some phone calls or Zoom calls. We all know what Zoom is now. I've had lots of them with a number of leaders and pastors and trying to encourage them. So I've tried to be creative with my frustration. So not allow myself to get too down, but think of the bigger picture, be grateful for what I do have, but also look at ways I can still look at how my gift can get out and hopefully help people in this time.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, that is, because I think, you know, Luke's going to be speaking for us in a few weeks, and you're able to do things like that. And whatever happens in October, we'll have you with us either in person or virtually. So, you know, it's good to be, you know, through the way that we have got technology these days, you're still able to do certain things, but it's just in a very different way. So through all of this, have you found that you've set yourself any personal goals, even in having to change how you do things, just your whole look of your ministry?
I mean, yeah, there have been a few changed goals, but not so much in where it's altered too much of how I look at things. There's been goals that I've had to set for this season, and like I said, in that it's making sure that I am very productive with the time I have. And so one of those goals that was very clear to me on the very last day of March, it was to use this time to write and finish my book. So whereas normally over the last couple of months, a lot of my time would have been allocated to writing sermons, preparing talks, I've put some of that on hold to a degree so I can really focus on that. And that has been a massive goal. I mean, a real massive goal. I wrote it down, and by the end of April, I wanted to finish the writing of that. And by the end of this month, May, to have really got traction in the whole editing process. So that goal, which was always in my sort of vision, but had been bit down here, was elevated to the top in this time. We've also, my wife and I, have been looking at doing a podcast as well that we will start some work on in June. So that has been a goal we would like to do. Me and talking about faith and family, because my wife, she's not really involved in ministry. Yes, she's a full-on Christian, so you don't have to worry about that, but she's got her own career, and it throws up all sorts of challenges, and we often find ourselves in conversation with people about that. So that's something we want to crystallize and put out via a podcast. So again, some of these goals, book writing, podcast goals that we've set, and so far we're on track to hit them.
That's really exciting, isn't it? That's really good. Mm-hmm. That's brilliant to do that. So tell us then a bit about what your book's going to be about. And have you got I saw a wee thing about it on Instagram, and I was like, woo, how exciting. So I know you've been running it for a while, but what anything you want to tell us about it? Because we'd love to hear.
Yeah, of course. It's about God, and it comes very much out of the heart of my own personal story. The loss of our baby girl Elle, I have shared about it at your church. But for those of you watching that don't know, we were expecting, as far as we knew, a healthy baby, and a couple of days before the due date, we went into hospital for the final check, and there wasn't something right, and then that was it. There was no heartbeat, and the next day, Lisa had baby Elle, and it was a very traumatic and very difficult time. This was 5 years just past what would have been Elle's 5th birthday in April, and so when you get thrust into that sort of situation with no warning, there was no warning, not at all. It was a massive shock. And as someone that really loves God and is a faith-filled man, someone who preaches faith, when you are thrown into that sort of situation, it really puts your walk with God to the test. And I entered into this wrestle with God. I had no idea how to fight, no idea how to navigate. I didn't really know how I was going to get through this. How do I support myself? How do I support my wife? How do we do this? What does my relationship look like with God? And so it's been a real difficult journey, if I'm honest with God. But also, as I wrestled more with him, I really started to recognize that everyone wrestles with God in one way or another. And we all have areas in our life that can frustrate us, upset us, can change the path that we're on, questions that we ask God that don't get answered. And so I started putting pen to paper about that, and about what it looks like to wrestle with God, and why we should wrestle, the benefits of wrestling, and what happens when you hold on long enough, what comes out of the wrestle. And so I've written now 10 chapters. The book is called The Wrestle is Worth It, with the subtitle Pushing Through Pain, and it's really come together, and I've been ever so pleased with its progress, and I can't wait. It will be out later this year. In fact, I wanted to finish writing it in April, and I finished it the last Sunday in April. And I'll tell you, this is a testimony about the book. I knew it needed to go to a professional editor, but I've written everything, and there's plenty of words in that book, I can tell you. And I wanted it to go to a professional, and there was someone that I had seen online, a particular female who's a very good Christian editor based in America, and I didn't think I had an opportunity or a chance to get her to edit the book. And I looked through other editors and whatnot, and I kept coming back to this lady, and I prayed about it and spoke to Lisa. At the end, I said, I'll get in touch, even if she's way out of my league. But she read the sample pages and said, "Yeah, I really want to work with you on this project." And so she's been editing it, and she sent the first round back towards the end of last week. I've done a couple of changes that have gone back today, actually, and it's. So that's some of it.
That is brilliant.
Excellent.
That is so good. And we
well
look forward to reading that. That's great. You don't have a launch date or anything yet? You just
No,
later in the year?
Not right now. I mean, it will probably be the end of November, start of December, with all that's going on right now, and my calendar in particular being really, really disrupted. It makes more sense to bring it out at the end of the year, so that hopefully I can go into January 2021 with my calendar looking good and fairly full, so I can take that book and hopefully it will be a real blessing to the churches and conferences I get to speak in 2020.
It's also a great Christmas present, Luke. It's a good time for a book. It's a good Christmas present to give people. We can all buy it for our friends.
Yeah, please do. I'll record this and I'll remind you of that, Helen, a bit nearer the time.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry, I'm fine. I will be more than happy to do that for you.
No, you
great.
guys have always been you've always been very, very supportive of me and my family and our ministry. So I'm always very grateful for your support.
Oh, thank you. So,
Pleasure.
Yeah, when you look at this time, and do you feel, is there anything you would say on your heart that you probably think God's particularly saying? We used the word reset earlier. Is there anything that you would feel he's sort of saying to the church or to us as Christian people individually and then collectively that you feel this season's a week bringing out for us all?
Yeah, well, like we spoke off air before we came on, I felt that God had said this is a reset. This is a reset moment. This is a window in time that we've never experienced before. I hope we don't experience it again to a certain degree. So we need to maximize the moment that we find ourselves. I think it's helped us all, certainly when I've been in conversation with church leaders and pastors, it's helped us all just take a bit of a step back and have a look at our priorities, have a look at how we run our life, what is important to us, what is more important to God. And I believe it's the time that's bringing us back to basics as well in terms of our walk with Him. I think it's encouraging people to be able to self-feed, to really push into the presence of God on their own. And I do believe good things will come out of it. But I sense it's a reset. It's a reset moment for us in the church to really realign our priorities and to make sure that we don't just run everything at our pace in our strength, that actually we continue to look to God, our source, and that He takes the reins again in some of our lives. And I believe out of this we will see, if we're not already, a move of God that we haven't seen before. I do believe that, and I believe it won't just be in our nation. When has the whole world ever been on pause before? So I believe we are going to see the ripple effects of good come out of this in ways that will perhaps blow our own mind. I do believe that.
Yeah,
I agree. That's true.
I think that's a really strong sense of that in the church in general, but I know many of us have just been feeling that as well. The climate is right because of everything that's happening and because of the pause moment to look at what life is like. But I think for the gospel and the word of God to be preached and people, to turn to Christ, I think there are many, many pointers that show that there's an appetite for spiritual hunger and to seek God in this. And I think the challenge then for us in the church, how can we into that? We're obviously using new mediums of communication, so how can we do that to reach people that are out there with the gospel?
Yeah. Well, look, they say the good words in the last 2 months have been hope and prayer, and so that tells you that people are looking for answers. People are looking for an opportunity to find the purpose of life. Often these sort of things, when it shakes us up, we look for something to hold on to, and people are looking for that. And so it is a good opportunity for us to maximize that. And we're doing that. I mean, I love like what you've done with this. I mean, the level of online services, including yourselves and others, you just see is growing and developing, and we're almost taking over the internet again. The Christians taking over the airwaves, and I think that's so significant in what God's going to do now and next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think people are doing well, and even like, for example, I would never, if you'd have told me I would do this, I would have laughed. I'd have gone, there's no way I'm doing that. I wouldn't be doing that. And yet here I am doing it, because it's not really, because you forget about you and it's not about you anyway. And you're doing it because you don't think of it in the same way as you would have before. I think because we're wanting to connect with each other, you're wanting to do this and feel God's calling us to reach out and to build community in the best way we can through doing things like this. And I just do think that's really important. And I think that's part of why, even for us as church family, it's been great to have people like yourself who are important to us as part of Grace Generation, who are part of us as church family, for people to see people, like you, because people love you coming every year. They do. That you know you're loved in the church. The church just love you. Yeah. And I honestly believe that even that in itself really is helpful for people to feel connected, and it's just a sense of belonging, and we're all kingdom, and we're all in this. We are all in this together, and I think really you find community to be so important at this time. I really do.
We're absolutely, Helen, and I suppose again, looking at some of the positives, because we have to. I know there's so much negativity that's going on, and rightly so, when people are losing their lives and losing jobs and all sorts. It's very difficult. But to live in this day and age with the technology that we have available, that we can jump online and do this, that you can put a service together on that can literally stretch into the living rooms of those watching. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do this 10 years ago. I mean, perhaps one or two of them are very large and well-established church, but outside of that, we wouldn't be able to have the interaction and to continue with that sense of community like we can today. So we have to be grateful for the technology that is available for this time, for this season, because is making a difference. I know we spoke before we came on air that you're seeing even more people tune into your broadcasts and your services. And I have heard similar reports across churches, Europe and the US, and those that I'm in connection with, they've seen the same. They've seen their numbers, double, triple, quadruple, people coming in just and this is good. Even if they don't make the decision, seeds are being planted, and I would like to think that by the time we do have the opportunity to meet again, that some of these people logging in have been so encouraged by what you've brought to them in the week or on a Sunday, and they've seen the authenticity and the hope that you speak, that they will want that to continue, and we'll see a surge of new people come through the doors on a Sunday, because they now cannot live without it, so I believe no,
I agree. Because we've been saying it's easier to invite people to church online than to come to church sometimes, and as you say, then a hunger. It's good. You just see what God's doing a new thing. He's doing a new thing.
That's it. And out of this, you, like many others, are going to have an online presence that you would not have had this time last year. And so there's all new ministries that are growing out of this that again, you wouldn't have given the time or attention to a little bit, not the level you're doing. So we won't lose that. So that's going to keep going. And when the doors open again, hopefully it will come together as a bit of a crescendo and really push church to a new level.
I think it's exciting to imagine coming back to worship for the first time is like, oh. I think but it is good.
So you're talking about hope there, in terms of being one of the most Googled words in this season. So if there's somebody watching this particular broadcast and they're maybe just looking at everything, they maybe made a commitment of Jesus in their lives, and they're looking at everything that's going on, and probably the Holy Spirit maybe speaking it. What would you say to somebody who's looking for hope in their lives?
Well, I would say this: first of all, we throw the word around hope a lot, but we got to know what it means. And hope is having a belief or an expectation that things are going to get better. And so that's what hope means. And as Christians, we know we can put our hope in Jesus because we know he is unchanging. He is sovereign. He is all-knowing, all-powerful. You know, he's ever present. And so to be able to confidently place our hope in him, because we know he wins, we know, like I just said, how his nature is unchanging, that lifts us. That gives us something to wake up to each morning. That puts a smile on our face. And so I would encourage people to intentionally, you know, whether you know Christ or not, if you don't, you know, get a Bible and start reading. But if you do know him, intentionally get up and make sure you put your hope in him. It's very easy when things are on shaky ground and the future is uncertain to place your hope in things that are temporal, like the government, like your spouse, like your employer. And a lot of us, especially when fear starts creeping in, that is where we put our hope. But that's always changing. When we're intentional with where we position our hope in an unchanging God, it's amazing how that lifts your spirit. It's amazing how he reminds you of the bigger picture. It's amazing how we know when we read the end of the Bible that we're already on the winning side. No matter what, who, circumstance comes against us, we have a hope in Christ. We win. That we have the victory. And so for anyone searching for hope, let me tell you, put it in Jesus Christ and you're going to be okay. Yeah, you might come out with a few scratches and a few bruises and a broken heart at times, but you're still going to win.
Yeah.
You might have a bit of a wrestle, Luke, but you'll get there in the end.
That's right. It will be worth it in the end.
No, that's brilliant. If you've enjoyed just that wee sample of Luke when he gets fired up
in the flow,
you know, he's speaking English Generation on 21st, I think it is, of June. We have him down for. So, you know, invite your friends to listen that Sunday because it'll be great. It'll be great. But thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We really do. And giving up your time and it's great to see you and to connect with you and hear how you're all doing. We love it. Everybody loves you. And Amy Owens is saying she loves you, even though you support Watford, she still loves you. But Ryan, you're still a legend. You're a legend.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. Well, I know, you know, Amy and her family are diehard Liverpool fans, as is Stevie. And obviously before the lockdown, we all saw what happened when they turned up at Watford's place. And we did show them how to be gracious in defeat. So, but I won't talk about that anymore because we're still near the bottom of the table and they're up the top. But no, I appreciate joining you and I keep an eye on all that you're doing and I know obviously many members and people that attend your church and I'm always made to feel so welcome and I love what you're doing there in Banbridge and believing that very much so that your best days are most certainly ahead. So appreciate you having me on. And if people reach out, I do a weekly blog that goes out to several hundred people. And over the last few months, I've been talking a lot about faith and hope. And it comes out every Monday or Tuesday morning every week. And they can find that on my website or social media if they need that little bit more of encouragement each week.
It's a great blog. I read it every week. I read it every week. I love it. It's very encouraging, Luke. It really is. It's very good. Very good. So that's great.
Very good. So, loved having you on. Sorry about the start to everybody who's watching. Yes. But I think we got there in the end. And thank you to Rick for doing some of the stuff from his house in the background to keep us all live. And big thanks to everybody. And so I'm sure on behalf of everybody, look, we just again want to say a big thank you. God bless you and Lila in these days and just all. you're doing. May you know the favor of God on it and protection over your family in Jesus' name.
Yes.
And we look forward to hearing you on in a few Sundays' time. And thank you for that in advance. Yep. So that's good. So if people who are online or on Facebook, what we're looking at on their phones, you want to show the love and hit the hearts, hit the hearts and the thumbs up, and let Luke see that he's loved. And so thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Luke, and we will speak to you soon. God bless, and love to Lisa and Ryla.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Love you.